Here we go. Oh, it says it's sending data, which probably means, okay, we're online on Facebook and we're online on YouTube. Dum, dum, dum. Another hour and a half to waste with this incredible crew. I'm kidding. That's what they used to say in Car Talk. You know, they said, anyway, nobody wants to hear me talk. Hey, everybody. Welcome to April 16th, WPAMA. Ask us anything about WordPress. We're here for you. We want to answer your questions, to be honest. And today we're going to do a little bit of backup conversation. Conversation about backups, restores. And so we have Akshat with us. I also snagged Michael Moore to do some backup and restore stuff. And so I might as well have the two of them introduce themselves first. And then I have been told that I should be the gatekeeper of telling people to introduce themselves. So that's what I'm going to do, because Bob knows best. So Akshat, tell us who you are, what you do, and where you are.
Hey, thanks, Manuel. Good to be here. This is my first time around. So yeah, I'm Akshat. I'm the founder of BlogVault and Malcare. We do backups and security for WordPress, and I'm coming, the longest distance for all the way from Bangalore, India. And over to Michael, I guess.
Hey, excuse me, I'm Michael Moore. I am the Associate Product Manager at iTheme. So I work with the BackupBuddy team and the security team to manage WordPress backups and security.
Sweet. I'm just going to go in order of the things on my screen. How's that sound? Topher, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Howdy, howdy. My name's Topher. I work for BigCommerce as a developer advocate. And so that means that I work both for the company and for developers out in the world, interfacing between the two.
Sweet. And Michelle, let's go with you.
Hey everyone, I'm Michelle Butcher-Jones. I am from Carmel, Illinois. I run a little website called Can't Speak Geek that is all about WordPress tips and tricks and reviews. And then I also run my own WordPress agency, 13 Core.
Sweet. All right. And Bob, let's go with you.
Okay, I'm Bob WP. I'm here to keep Mendel on top of things. And also, I talk about WooCommerce on our podcast over at Bob WP, write about WooCommerce. Yeah, you can just find me over there.
Awesome. And find you they will. And a very special appearance by Allie.
Cool. Hi. I'm Allie Nimmons. I'm based in Miami, Florida. And I work at WP Buffs, which is a 24/7 WordPress website maintenance company for website owners, white label partners, and I do customer success there. So I work with all of our customers, both our white label and our direct customers, to make sure that they have everything that they need and that they have all the systems and processes and mindsets to help them be successful with their WordPress website.
Awesome. And how many times at WP Buffs do people say things like awesome sauce?
We prefer Bufftastic. That is actually when you sign on, Joe Howard makes you sign a contract that says you will only use Bufftastic as a positive adjective moving forward. So
I have no doubt. Makes sense. Cool. And then Niall, let's go for you.
Yes, I'm from Southern Illinois. I run blondish.net, also quite a few WordPress groups on Facebook. And what I do is I'm a WordPress designer and developer. I'm also a professional blogger. I write for GoDaddy at times and for their blog. And I also am the infection cleanup specialist at WP Fixit.
Cool. And I thought you were about to say you were the professor of something. And I'm like, that is cool. You should start. You're like, I am the professor of blondish.net. That is my thing. Before I introduce myself, I think that was everybody. Before I introduce myself, I want to remind everybody that you can ask questions and we will answer them in real time, well, near real time, on the comment section of both YouTube and Facebook, wherever you've joined us. So feel free to post your question there, reply to my tweet, wherever. It doesn't really matter. Just send us your question. We're down with it. We've got a super expert crew. We've got agency people on here. We've got site builders. We've got educators. We've got backup people. So whatever your WordPress and WooCommerce poison, we can probably help out. And if we can't, we'll get some people on here who can. Just a little sneak preview. I think we got somebody from the Divi crew to come and do a little bit of Divi Nation conversation on one of our upcoming events. So yeah, hopefully you'll join us for every single one of these and just hear my annoying voice introducing everybody. Okay, so I'm Mendel. I'm your host, and I like to bring general mayhem to these proceedings. I work at Nexus, Liquid Web company, and I am a WooCommerce developer advocate focused on agencies. So that's my gig. That's what I do, and I'm just here to spread some goodwill and some information. So if you have questions, please put your questions in the comment section. While we're waiting for all of the millions of questions to roll in, I think we'll get started with somebody who wants to do a demo. And since Topher told me that he might have to leave a little bit early, I think, Topher, you're up first, man.
All right. Am I doing two at once or one at a time?
One at a time. Let's do one at a time. And then we'll go from you to another person and then maybe back to you. I don't know.
My first one's really short.
Okay. You're the king of short demos.
That's right. And meetings. All meetings should be short. All right. Let me share my screen here. Y'all see it all right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So the first thing, I found this today. This is a desk, a workstation that is made out of cardboard. It flat packs and is made for temporary home workspaces. Costs $85. So if you are stuck at home because maybe a pandemic is happening and you're working at your dining room table, this could be a cheap temporary fix. The other thing I want to show is this cool dev library that we built. And I want to show it for several reasons. One is that I think you should build one if you have a plugin or anything. You probably have scripts, bits of code that you pass around, paste into Slack, all that kind of stuff. Centralize those, put them in a place like this. I wrote a blog post on how we put BigCommerce data into WordPress. It's not exactly what you might think. And so developers were like, well, how do I deal with this data? So I did a blog post. And then right down here is just a code snippet for hiding the WP admin bar for customers. This would probably be easily applicable to WooCommerce or any other thing that has logged in people. But then because we're not exclusively WordPress, we've got this cool BigCommerce to GraphQL thing. So if you're using WordPress and GraphQL, you can roll BigCommerce in there. The folks at Stratic are using a lot of the same knowledge with JavaScript for getting BigCommerce to work in Stratic. And that's what I have.
Cool. Wait, was that one or two demos?
That was two. So that was
he
the
never
desk.
plays by the rules. I told him WordPress. It's got to be WordPress, and he's like, "Here's a cardboard desk." But that's super
That's
cool,
right.
and I love it. I wonder, like, I really want to see your browsing history because I think that you're like looking at crazy stuff all day long, which is super cool.
A lot of it comes from Twitter.
Oh, got it. Got it. Well,
Yeah.
awesome tip on the desk. So if you're a temporary worker, if you're temporarily working remotely, awesome. And my dad, by the way, incidentally, he just started working remotely a little bit. And so this is like a real thing. I'm walking him through like, hey, this is how to stay connected. This is how to maybe this is how to set up your desk, or this is whatever, right? He actually schools me a lot more, and I've been working remotely for a while. I don't know what that says about me and my skills. Maybe it just means that my dad's brilliant. Anyway, that's cool. And I also like your tip on creating a repository, because having a centralized location with your tips and tricks and your code and your information and all that stuff, that's super useful. So that people know exactly where to find it. So sweet. And by the way, for everybody that doesn't know, can you talk a little bit about Stratic? Because I just think it's kind of an interesting thing.
You bet. Stratic is a hosting company using WordPress, but rather than view the standard WordPress front end, they serve a static website based off of the content you create in WordPress. So in the back end, it's the WordPress we all know and love. But then when you're ready to publish, it generates static HTML files and builds a site out, which of course ends up being a very fast experience on the front end. It's owned by Miriam Schwab. I don't know if she's the sole owner. They're based in Israel.
She's the boss.
It's a great company. Yeah, she's the boss. Doesn't matter if she owns it. She's the boss. But one of the hard parts about any static website system, be it Gatsby or Stratic or anything, is that things that are typically database driven don't work. So if you have a form that wants to do something, wants to do anything on the back end, it can't. So PHP is not there. There's no database there. You're not saving records. You want to do e-commerce, too bad. All that stuff. So both Gatsby and Stratic are working with the BigCommerce APIs to make e-commerce available on static websites. Something really impressive Stratic just did is to get Gravity forms working. Not only is it making a WordPress plugin work on a static website, but Gravity forms is not simple. There's a lot of moving parts, and they made it work.
Yeah, it's cool. Yeah, so check them out. I think it's STRATTIC or something like that. But interesting idea. Interesting concept. Static WordPress. Super cool crew behind it. So yeah. So who wants to demo something next? Oh, and by the way, if you have questions, remember, leave them. Just leave them in the comments. I have a hard time coming up with different ways to tell people to leave comments, but tell us, tell us what color hat you're wearing right now or something like that. Anything, really. This is desperation, people. Desperation. Send me all sorts of comments. In the meantime, who wants to go next? Who wants to show something cool? I think Michelle is muted, but I think Michelle wants to share something.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
I keep forgetting that I've been muting with the mic instead of Zoom. And so I think that I can talk and I can't. I actually do have something to share, and I know it's not something Topher did last week. Okay, so let me share my screen. This would be the one I want. And, oh, this is not the one I wanted. Too many Safari screens to pick. Yeah, we'll just go like this and share the whole desktop. Okay. When working on a website and say you're wanting to update plugins or wanting to add change a theme or something, and it's on maybe cPanel with shared hosting, and it does not offer its own staging, or say you don't have complete access to the FTP to copy things over into, you're wanting to use something like one of the local stagings. There is an awesome plugin called WP Staging. And it works really great for most smaller sites. If you have a bigger site with like a lot of media on it and just a lot of heavy stuff, it's not that easy to use, mainly because you're putting 2 sites technically on your hosting, and that's double the resources being used. But it's really one-click install. Usually my internet's a lot quicker than this. Okay, and activate. All right, and then for making a new site, you just come down to site/start and say I'm wanting to change the theme. So I might name the staging site new theme. And it gives you options to see if you want to copy over all of the database tables or just some of them. You can have your choice on what files to copy over or not. And then it does have some pro settings, which right now we're just using the free. And you can just click start cloning. And as it clones, show you some of the settings. If you leave it as default, it will password protect your site with its actual login. And it does give options of different, how quick it can be copied over, and the limits and maximum file sizes and batch sizes. And the CPU load. If you're wanting to like share it with your clients, you can click this disable admin authorization. So then when you send the link over for the staging, they won't have to log in. If you're having issues with the staging site, it does give you a debug mode that you can use. A lot of sites now use some type of flavor of optimization plugins, like this one here uses WP Rocket. So you can have the choice of it moving over the settings of whatever optimization plugins you're using, or leaving them be. So when you're working on your staging, you don't have the same caching and optimizations going on to make it more easier to work with. You have the option to remove all data on uninstalls, and then also you can have it to check your directory sizes as well. Let's see, come back over here, and it is still migrating. So what I can do is show you on another one of my sites. 13, I'm using it right now for on my 13 core. The live site, you'll see is just kind of the normal background and everything. But when you take a look at the staging, click update on this one, you'll see the bright orange bar coming across that shows you that it's a staging. So I can switch over here. And then for the links, like this one, I gave it new site as well. So when you go, your URLs, you'll have the new site, which is the subsite staging. And it's completely built in, and you're able to access it via FTP as well. The thing that is nice is with the bright orange bar is if you're looking between the two, you can tell the difference of what you're working with. So there's less chance of, say, you go to make a change on the staging site and you're actually making on the live site. So to pay attention with that bright orange bar. or to have it on separate screens, which is what I typically do. And to access it, you would go to your WP staging, and it'll show once it's finished, it'll give you a box where you can either delete, you can update it, which is resyncing it with your live site, or open, and it gives you the URL. You just click on the URL. If you have it set up to where the, since I'm already logged in, it's didn't give me the pop-up box, but if you're not already logged in to the staging site, it'll pop up the HD access saying you can't see it until you put in your information. And then you have a whole subsite to work with. See if it's finished over here. Almost done. But for that, since I already showed, and it takes approximately a minute, 2 minutes to build the site, unless it's huge. But it's definitely a great tool to use when you do not have access to a staging that is built in with hosting, or you're familiar with using local staging sites.
Sweet. Well, thank you for the deeper dive into WP staging. And we have a couple questions. These questions are non-WordPress related, but questions nonetheless. So Hristo is here, and Swahili is here, and they're asking us some non-WordPress questions. Questions about maybe like a pet check. You know, do you have a pet sitting around? We've been staring at dashboards all day. Do you have a pet that you can share? Bob has,
yeah, upstairs.
Bob has things upstairs.
Sorry. Yeah. It doesn't come down. The cat doesn't like to come down here because because I'm talking to all these weird people. So you know.
So
yeah,
oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say I have a cat as well, but you know, cats are not usually. My cat's off hiding in the closet, you know, somewhere getting into mischief. And if I try to pick up and bring her over here, she'd probably scratch the crap out of me. But a cat does exist in the general vicinity.
Yeah, they're notoriously hard to find unless you don't want to find them, and then they're easy to find, right?
Yeah, unless it's 6 a.m. and she's screaming at me for breakfast, then she's very easy to find.
Aha. So, so follow-up question. If you have pets, maybe you spend time with your pets in the spaces between your work, but what do you do in your breaks? What do you do to kind of like get offline where we're all sitting at home? We've all got a computer in front of us. We've got coffee. We're hanging out, and oh, there's a there's a cat. Look, Niall's got a cat. That's awesome.
So fluffy.
Wait, Niall, unmute yourself. Oh wait, here, I'm going to spotlight your video. There we go. Check that out.
I have two, and the other one's hollering at my feet. But they're both white. They're brothers. This is Seshomaru, and his brother is Sukuyomi.
Whoa.
Is it odd-eyed?
He's yellow-eyed, and then his brother's blue-eyed.
Okay, we had one that had two odd eyes.
This one's exactly like the cat in the memes that I like to share a lot online. That's much the cat.
So we know where you get all of your memes. That's awesome. So what do y'all do? What do y'all do to take a break and just kind of like chill out in between meetings and stuff like that?
I've been trying to take walks or do something physical to, you know, release some of that negative tension that can be created by being stuck inside with the pandemic. And then I recently downloaded an app called Daily Stoic. It has different journaling options in there, as well as different like breathing exercises, different ways to help me, one, maintain focus in the day, and then cope with the anxieties of the unknown of how long we will all be sheltered inside. So Daily Stoic, I would definitely recommend doing that. Did one this morning, woke up feeling extra anxious today, did one this morning. It was like a worst case scenario exercise. Working through that just helped me reframe my mindset to have a more positive day.
Cool.
Yeah, Mendel, we talked about just doing nothing, basically. in the other podcast. And I mean, I'll get up and walk around and stuff, but sometimes I like to just go stare out the window for 10 minutes, not with any particular thing I have to think about. Like I said, watch a grass grow, look at a bug, look at the ducks on the roof that I told you about in the other podcast. So, just sometimes you just need to not plan anything and just move away, go somewhere and just sit or stand and let your mind wander.
That's good.
I've been doing more of just the mindless, like games on your cell phone or like the Facebook games. I have a gin rummy game on my cell phone that I use a lot for detachment, to relax, and then been reading more.
Cool.
Yeah. That's one of mine too. I got a little Kindle recently, so I'll go sit on the couch or whatever and read. Right now I'm reading a book of H.P. Lovecraft short stories, which definitely kind of emphasizes it could be worse than it is right now. There's bad things happen in these stories, so it's kind of very extreme escapism, which is nice.
Cool.
Yeah, so I had a daughter recently. So yeah, this lockdown is a blessing in disguise. I get to spend a lot of time with her.
That's awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Oh yeah, go for it.
I work from home all the time, so my days aren't changed all that much. But I've been a big fan for a long time of micro naps. So I'll take like a 20-minute nap in the middle of the afternoon or something. And then once in a while, I have a video game that I love that I've played over and over and over. And so it's easy to play 5 or 10 minutes. And so if I just need to like change the focus of my mind for a minute, I go do that, and it just gets me into another place altogether. Allie, I'd like to recommend the book Lovecraft Country.
Okay.
It's not
I've heard
by
of that.
Lovecraft. It's amazing.
Cool. I'll check that out. I have heard of that. I've never seen it on the shelf and being confused that it wasn't by him. But yeah, I'll check it out now that you recommended it. What game are you playing? Just to totally derail the conversation.
I love the Far Cry games. Right now I'm playing
okay.
Far Cry 2, which is quite old.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we just started playing the Final Fantasy VII remake. So we're in high video game gear right now.
I've heard that that's a thing that people are doing. Playing Final Fantasy VII remake.
It just came out on Friday. So yeah, it's a big deal.
Cool.
I know a lot
Big fan
of people
micro naps. Sorry, go ahead.
I know a lot of people have been playing that Animal Crossing on Switch a lot.
That just came out too. Very different games.
So wait, Akshat, you do micro naps too?
Oh yeah, so I started doing micro naps, and I think we are one of the very few WordPress companies which work out of an office. So as we started building the team out, the entire team now does micro naps through the, and it is the strangest thing, because I started it and then people were like, the second person came and he started following it because I was taking it, and now the entire company essentially micro naps through the afternoon.
That's funny. I like that. That's
we have
cool.
a Zen room that some people like to take little micro naps in.
Sweet. Wow. Who knew we had so many micro nappers? Just like kind of blows my mind.
Right.
Cool.
It makes a big difference. I highly recommend it.
I'm napping right now.
No, I can't beat that.
You never know when Topher's napping.
That's right. He can deceive you with his open eye sleeping. Let's move on to, thank you for the questions, by the way, reminding us to, talk about other stuff besides the dashboard. It's cool.
So I had a question.
Yeah.
When do you think we'll stop using the word pandemic
in
our conversations?
I don't know. Yeah, probably never, because people love buzzwords, People love buzzwords. But let's
All right, sorry, go ahead.
let's move towards Allie. Allie said that she might have something up her sleeve to show us. So let's see what she's got.
For sure. Okay. How do let's share this one. Cool. Can y'all see my screen?
Yep.
Cool. So
Yep.
just really quick, what I wanted to share was something that some people might already have been aware of, because Matt Mullenweg actually shared it in the State of the Word at WordCamp US last year. But it's basically that you can build a slide presentation in Gutenberg and basically host those slides immediately in your WordPress website, which is really cool. So I used to use Google Slides for WordCamp talks or Meetup talks, or even if you're just if maybe you shifted your company online and so you need to be creating visual reports online instead of sending them in a different manner. And so doing it this way can be handy and convenient. The code to do, there is a GitHub thingy. I blanked on the word. You can find the way to do this in GitHub. It's all right in here. And I think I just found this via a Google search, but there is also a plugin, which I have installed on my website, which is called Slides and Presentations. And so basically what it does is it puts in a custom post type for presentations right in here. And when you go to add a new one, you're just building it in Gutenberg. You're building it right in here. And it's actually really powerful. So you can, title it and then just right away begin adding slides, adding headings. There's options for speaker notes. And then there are all these different design options. You can put in colors and different fonts and images and iframes and all these other sorts of things, which makes it really easy. And then once it's published, you can display it like you would any other post or page on your website. So for example, I gave a meetup talk a little while ago. And so I just added, instead of having to link people to a particular slide link, I could just say, go to my website, go to talk slides, and the presentation is right here. And so when I went to go make that presentation, I could just throw out my website, go to this page, and start moving through the presentation. So yeah, that's just a little kind of thing that I thought was really cool. That was one of my huge takeaways from WordCamp US was wow, I can now host all of my talk slides on my website all in one place, really easy to find. So yeah, that's pretty much that.
Cool, thanks. And so is that also SEO friendly? Has that been thought through in the plugin, do you know? Or
I'm not sure. Maybe let me go kind of look at this page.
Because that would be next level, right? Is if you could actually SEO it, then your presentation is now even more beneficial to have on your own website.
I want to see. There is my little Yoast SEO guy in here, so I know that I can, pop in the metadata that I need.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool. Yeah, I didn't actually even think of that, but I mean, I would think so.
That's cool. Regardless, it's an awesome tip, and something that maybe I'll use the next time I can go into the real world and give a presentation. Maybe I'll use it in one of my virtual presentations coming up. It's pretty awesome.
I think it'd be pretty handy.
That's
Sweet.
pretty neat.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Awesome. So, Niall, you mentioned that you have something now. Before we go on, we have a question here from Denise. Thanks for being here, Denise. You're awesome. What workflow do you recommend to follow to run updates? AKA, what are your requisites or checklists to make sure nothing breaks your site? Interesting question. I like that one. So, Niall, while you present, I am going to bring something up.
You want me to go ahead?
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
All right. So I do have two examples to share, but I'm going to share just the one for right now. I think that's what we're kind of doing. Let me screen share. Sorry, sometimes when you have so many screens, it's a little bit crazy. So, all right, cool. I found it. All right. And everybody see it?
Yep.
Awesome. Sorry. Okay. So what we're looking at, mostly we're looking at the part down here where we have all these photos down here for Instagram and everything to display. A lot of my clients like to have this on their website because especially the bloggers. I have it on my site too. And I'm on Instagram, and I'm sure a lot of us here are on Instagram on this Hangout. But it is operated by a plugin. Sorry, I've got this. It's called Smash Balloon Social Feed. Okay. And so basically, they do have a premium version, but the free version is completely like okay to use. It is everything you need, you know, right out of the box. It's like, it really is super simple to set up. It's basically, you install it like any other plugin. When you activate it, I'm just going to go flip over to the back end. I'm using it on my website. So basically you can either manually connect to your Instagram account or connect automatically. Sometimes I can't because I have multiple accounts on Instagram for myself and clients, but this was the first time I ever used this, so it was easy. So you connect, and then you can customize it. And it's really easy. Like for me, I've said percentage of the, like 100%, I wanted it all across the width of the screen. And you could do different layouts and everything. Those are in the pro version, but you can tell how many photos, how many columns. If you want a follow link or anything else, when you click on the photos, there's the option to actually follow it outside into a new window or a new tab, or you just open it and it just opens right there. But I think it's pretty fun, and for bloggers out there, I know that we have people here watching this are bloggers. I do lifestyle stuff or anything else. This is actually pretty handy for them. So yeah, that's my demonstration, or sort of demonstration. So
Awesome.
okay.
I think it was pretty cool. I dig it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I dig it. So thank you, Niall. I'm going to go back to this question. If it seems like I wasn't completely paying attention, it's because I wasn't, because I was trying to look up some information in one of my accounts about workflow and running updates and things like that. So I believe in the next major release of WordPress, updates are going to be automatic. However, you might be in a situation where you're dealing with a high profile client, or just a client that you don't want their website to go down, which is probably every client. And so you want to set up a workflow to keep that from happening, to test things. So typically what I think of as the best way to go about testing plugins and then deploying is to test each individual plugin, right? If we had all the time in the world, we would test each individual plugin. We'd spin up a website, we would install that plugin, we'd check for any visual changes, check the checkout flow, check all that stuff. If everything was the same, everything was working fine, then we'd say, okay, let's go install the next plugin. And we would install the next plugin, we'd do the exact same thing. We'd continue to do that until we made sure that everything was up to date. We'd be doing all of this ideally on our staging site. And then we would push all of this to our live site for a client or for ourselves or whatever. So that's kind of the recommended workflow. Now there are some alterations to that. Sometimes you can do, you know, a local staging or a local dev site to a remote staging to then a production site. Depends on, you know, how involved the process is, how many people you have working on the project. And so you could use something like desktop server to sync your changes from your local environment after you've tested them, test them on a live site, because sometimes the interaction is going to be different when you, sorry, not the live site, the staging site. Sometimes the interaction is going to be different once you get those plugins into a staging environment. And then you would deploy it over to production. Now, I have a little trick, which I kind of love. And so I'm going to share my screen. Let me move over. And I'm sorry, everybody, this is going to be a little self-promotional, slightly self-promotional. But I think it's worth showing just because it's pretty rad. So, and this was not a planted question, by the way. It totally wasn't. But I think this is super cool. So can everybody see my screen? Do you see the cache enabler
Yes,
on
sir.
there? Cool. So what this is, I'm in the Nexus dashboard, and I just spun up a silly test site that's just a temporary site. But what is going on here is that Nexus is actually spinning up individual sites for each plugin, and that needs to be updated. And it's checking the difference before and after, and doing a visual comparison. And if the visual comparison shows that there is a significant change, then the system will not automatically upgrade the plugin. If it shows that there is no significant change, then it will automatically upgrade the plugin. And so you can see here, this was, what was the date? Looks like this was April 10th. So on April 10th, the system went through, it spun up a new site for WooCommerce. It upgraded the WooCommerce on the staging site. It determined that there was no significant change. It upgraded the plugin on the live site. It destroyed the staging site. And then it spun up a new staging site for ultimate add-ons for Gutenberg, did the exact same thing, and so on and so forth. And you can see that for most of these, everything was cool. For Astra add-ons, it's even a little imperceptible to me what the difference was, but there was a significant enough difference between the before and after that it failed the Astra add-on, so that I would have to manually review and audit this particular upgrade before I went forward. So this is a way of kind of shortcutting the process of upgrading plugins, so that a system is kind of doing all of the automated testing, and then you just have to come and work on the things that that fail. So I just think it's kind of a cool feature, and it's a way of automating that workflow a little bit more. So that's, I guess, did I just use up one of my tips? Come on. But thank you for your question, Denise. And everybody else, post your stuff. Show us what you're curious about in WordPress, and we will try and show you the answers. So let's move on to Akshat. So Akshat runs a company, BlogVault, and I've known Akshat for a while now. Seen him cruising around WordCamps with his computer, kind of he's one of those guys where you see him and he's like the guy with like a good deal that he has like in his trench coat. So he comes over to you and he goes, "Hey, I've got this really cool thing to show you. Check it out." So you sit down with him and you're like, "Oh my God, this is super cool." So he always has something interesting to show. So I'm excited to see what he has to show today.
All right. Thanks, Mendel. Yes, we have known each other for a long, long time. I think 2013 onwards. I think that's when I first met you.
Yeah.
All right. So this is going to be slightly self-promotional, but the idea was not that. In the brief, Mendel had mentioned migrations, and this is something we love and we do a lot of it. And Nexus Liquid Web is a partner of ours, so they do know we love migrations. So I wanted to share a plugin which is fairly popular. It's completely free, so that's yeah. You can. I'm not making money from showing this. So yeah, it makes it very easy to do migrations, even small site, large site, and it uses the same infrastructure as what we do for migrations to Liquid for Web, for example, that plugin. So we use the same technology to make migrations easy from any web host to any web host. Okay, so I'm going to play a short video and I'll just walk you over the process. Okay, how do I share my screen? This one, sure. Okay, okay, can you see the screen? All right.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is the Migrate Group plugin, and you start by installing the Migrate Group plugin on your source site. So this is the place from where you want to migrate your site. And here we have already installed that plugin. And you can migrate to any web host. We have special integrations with a few web hosts, but this plugin supports migration from any to any. And let's say we are moving to InterServer, and you take the URL of the site on InterServer on your destination, provide that, enter the IP address, the FTP details, or cPanel if the website is cPanel based, and it will. That's it. You don't need to do anything else. You don't need to create zip files, or you don't need to download anything or upload anything. It will do the URL transformation. It will do everything in the background automatically, and it works really, really fast. And all of this without, without going through the pain of migrations. So yeah, this is again, as you can see, while we have compressed the video, it is almost as simple when you do it yourself. And we support websites which are tens of GBs in size, so you don't need to ever, worry about migrations, which are a real problem.
Cool. Thanks, Akshat. So something that I have as a follow-up, because I'm not going to let you off the hook that easily by playing just a video. But I'm curious if you can tell us a little bit, and I'm not going to put you on the spot right now. I'll give you some time to come up with the information. But I'm wondering if you can explain maybe a little bit about like BlogVault and how BlogVault is different or the same from a myriad of things out there, whether it's, managed WP or whether it's doing it yourself, or whether it's BackupBuddy, or whether it's, any of those other things. I'm curious to know kind of not your special sauce, but why things are super cool with BlogVault and some of the unique features. But before you do that, I'm going to pop over to, actually, Topher, did you have one more?
I do. It's
okay. I'm going to pop over to Topher because I know he has to leave soon. And then we'll go over to Michael, and then we'll come back to Akshat. And Akshat's going to tell us every secret about BlogVault. So go for it, Topher.
all right. Mine is once again a collection of tiny ones. I live in the command line every day, and I'm always surprised by how many people don't know about some incredibly simple tools available for web developers. Whois looks up domain names and tells you all about them. So whoismendelrocks.com tells you it is taken. So just like that, I didn't have to go to a website and search to find out if it was taken or not. This one is registered at GoDaddy. Do we know anybody named Mendel who has ever been affiliated with GoDaddy? If you
That's
check
not my
the-
domain, by the way.
It's not?
but it would be super cool if it was. Also
Yes.
strangely self-promotional if it was, but no, whoever owns that, I hope it's a website about me.
Well,
If you
Topher's
search for-
troll just backfired.
No, not at all.
There's no content on it. It's parked.
So if you search for one that doesn't exist, it'll just say no match. And so when I'm looking for a domain name, I don't go to a website and search a ton of those. I just throw it into a terminal and it tells me if it's available or not. Curl is a command line app that works like a web browser. But if you use -I, it gets only the headers. So if you look up my website, it will tell you, oh, it moved permanently because I'm using HTTPS. So I have a redirect from HTTP to HTTPS. So it tells you I'm using Nginx instead of Apache. Other cool things, I have caching turned on. There's a link to my API. It tells you that I'm using SiteGround. Tells you that I am running SSL and all that kind of stuff. I use this a lot when I'm testing if my cache is working. Many times it'll tell you when the last cache hit was. Links is actually a web browser. So I'm looking at this web page, which I cannot read because I've read 3 in the past. And so I put this right on my command line. And I say, no, I don't want cookies. I'll say never. And here's that article in a nice, easy to read format, good for copying and pasting. Bonus, this actually gives you some idea of what a screen reader looks at. So you see the button section search. Just think about how annoying it would be to have your computer saying that out loud to you as you're trying to just use this website. SSH is amazing. Oh, another one. If you do Control R, you can search everything you've ever typed on your command line. And then just hit enter. So SiteGround is one of the amazing hosts that offers SSH, and now I'm logged into my server. And here are my websites. Another one I'm going to point out is that zip works on the command line. -R for recursive. Just like that. Now I'm backing up my website. It's making a zip file that you can download and unzip anywhere. And I'm going to kill it because I have a ton of files that will take a long time. Another cool thing is SSH aliases. So this is an OS 10, just a regular Mac thing. If you make a config file, you can alias things. So that one that I just SSH'd into, we'll call it ECC. So I just do SSH ECC, and there I am again. I have a server in my basement. It's for Plex, for movies. So today I ripped the Hurricane Heist. So I'm going to SCP Hurricane Heist to my home alias. So I use this all the time to like if I do a screenshot and I want it on my website, I just use SCP to put it on my website. If I want to pull something down, you can do the same thing. You just invert. You say you start with the destination or the remote first, and tell it the file you want, and it pulls it right down. wget, I'm not going to go over that one. It's also like a web browser, but it gets one file and pulls it down. So if there's an image on the web you want, and you want it in a certain folder, you're in the terminal, you just type wget and the URL, and a half second later, the image is in your folder. Super, super simple. And that's all I have.
Awesome. That was like super quick and hard hitting, as always, tutorial by Topher with command line stuff. And it was, yeah, that was awesome.
Makes really easy snippets on Twitter.
Cool. Sweet. Well, thank you. I know you have to roll.
Yep.
We're going to
Thanks for
jump
having
over.
me.
What's that? Yeah. Thanks a lot for coming and sharing your wisdom with everybody. I'm going to move over to Michael and see what Michael has to tell us about life in general,
right.
or maybe even something WordPress related. Who knows? So I asked Michael to come specifically because, again, last time there were questions about backups and stuff like that. And since Akshat was here, I was like, hey, I know people that do backups. And so so Michael is involved with BackupBuddy, and I thought maybe he had some insight into that side of the world.
Yeah, I was going to do a just quick little demo for you guys. If you ever are in a position to use a backup, that means something has gone wrong. So your adrenaline is going to be pumping. You're going to be, your cognitive ability is just going to be slowed down because of the stress. And so we try to make it as simple as possible to restore when something goes wrong. So we created the BackupBuddy dashboard restore feature. And what that does, it allows you to restore a backup directly from the WordPress dashboard. So let me try to move all of our pictures out of the way. And so with a click of a button, you can see your recent backups. And with a click of a button, you can click the restore and go ahead and restore directly from the database. Now, what this is going to do is going to roll back to that state and time. So for example, if your site was hacked, and you can verify that this backup was a state prior to the site being compromised, you can quickly roll back with a quick click of a button to get your site back up into working order. So again, it's just all about simplifying the restore process to make your life easier, because there's plenty of people that do create backups, but they never actually practice any of the restoring of it. And that's definitely my biggest tip as part of this. Make sure that you know how to do the restore step, because your backup is only good if you know how to restore it. So that's going to be running, and then this in the background to complete that restore process. But yeah, that is the main thing that I would like to recommend about doing backups. Make sure you're practicing the restore. There's so many times that helping people, they get in a situation where they need to use their backup, but they don't know the first step it takes to actually revert their site to a state of repair.
Okay, now I'm gonna do the same. See, Akshat, you're not the only one that I'm gonna press on today for more info. So Michael, what I'm curious about, you know, everything's great when you have a backup in a pretty dashboard and you can restore it, and you know, all is well. What happens if you can't get into the dashboard? What do you recommend in that case?
In that case, we have what we call our traditional restore, which is going to require you to download a copy. Hopefully first of all, let's talk about something like the basic preparations when it comes to building a backup strategy. One of the things that you should be doing is creating automated backup schedules that automatically send your backups to an offsite location. That way, if something does happen on your site or on your server, you will still be able to access your backup at a different location in order to use it to restore. And then using the traditional BackupBuddy restore, which is just downloading the zip file of the backup and a copy of the import buddy.php, using that to quote unquote manually do kind of more of a manual restore of the site. So you can still get your site into working order if you can't access the dashboard.
Cool. Interesting. So so it requires an upload and maybe a little bit of server work, but you can get through it as long as you have them.
Putting in some credentials, and that's really about it.
Got it. Yeah. So I think the thing I'm taking away from all the backup conversation is the first step to having a great backup strategy is actually having backups.
No, that's 100%. You would be surprised how many people that have purchased a backup plugin and never configured it to create backups of their site on a regular basis. And it is definitely something to keep in mind. Like how often you want to back up, like how much tolerance do you have for loss? So, that's the good tip for the frequency of your backups. How much tolerance do you have for loss? And then creating a backup schedule that accommodates that. And then finding out the remote destination to store your backup safely. And then practicing that restore that way, again, because it's important to get those reps in so you can just do it from habit. Because if you're using a backup, it means something goes wrong. And that's what, I think probably Akshat can also say this, like coming from a point of empathy, how do you make this easy for people to non-technical people to protect their sites from any kind of loss, just like he was mentioning with his migration. Yeah.
Cool. Sweet. Well, thanks for showing that. So these are two viable options, BackupBuddy and BlogVault. There are others as well, and I'll try and get some people on from some of those other solutions as well, or maybe even like a technical backup and restore. Akshat, I'm still not going to put you on the hook just yet. I'm going to go over to Bob, and I'm going to see if Bob has anything to share with us, because Bob's been awfully quiet over there.
I was practicing my micro napping into extended napping, actually. I was like, oh, I'm still on the video. Damn it. Anyway, okay, I have a couple things, but I'll do one that's short, and then you can decide if I'm worthy of a second one later on. So let me go ahead and move things here. Of course, I'm going to be talking WooCommerce. And let me share a screen here. Okay, this is a new plugin that came out free. I love plugins that do one thing and do them good, not a bunch of options. You just need something that's for a specific thing. Leave it door for WooCommerce. It's this is about as simple as it gets. If you go in to your backend, once you've installed the plugin, under your shipping options on WooCommerce, you're going to have leave it door. And essentially what you do is you just assign a shipping option. So I've created this shipping option, which is local delivery. I thought this was very timely to share this because people might be in the position where they are doing local delivery now, where they weren't doing it before. And this gives the option to have somebody just leave at the door and say, keep ringing the doorbell. Why aren't you answering? Should I leave this here? Should I take it back with me? So you basically, any product that you have assigned to this shipping, local delivery will now have this nice little toggle to basically allow people to say, hey, leave it door. So if we go here, you'll see that I have the goodie basket that I'm going to order. I'm really original here. And if I go to checkout, when I get to checkout, and I scroll down here, right here, I'm going to see leave it door, optional. Of course, it's optional. And I just simply, okay, I'm on left at the door. I toggle it, say, please don't leave after 6 p.m. because my neighbor Mendel will steal it or something like that. Whatever you decide, if there is some instructions, you probably don't, hopefully you don't get really weird instructions, but basically that's what happens. So once you place the order, then that instruction will show up on the order in the back end for WooCommerce, and it will show up on their receipt that they get emailed to them. And that's it. I mean, and what's great is this is something you need just during this time, instead of saying, oh, what did we do to it? We did this customization. How do I get rid of this? If you don't need to use it anymore, or if you just want to turn it off for a while, just deactivate the plugin or toggle it off in your settings and you're good to go. And that's it.
That was awesome. Thanks, Bob. That was super cool. Yeah, that's super timely. In fact, these days when there's not an option, I remember I was having something delivered and somebody rang the doorbell and was expecting me to come and talk to them. And I was like, who are you? What are you doing here? Why do you want to talk to me? Because it's a different time right now. So, so that's super valuable and helps a local company to be more relevant by installing that, activating it, and getting it going. So that's super cool. I want to jump back to Ali, but before that, I want to talk to Akshat, because I challenged Akshat about 10 minutes ago to come up. Now, Akshat, you have to keep it all positive, because I know that you're probably going to want to say like, everything else sucks, but we're awesome. But tell us, tell us like why BlogVault, or what BlogVault is doing, like maybe a couple interesting features BlogVault is doing that you haven't seen in other places that makes it a super interesting option.
All right. No, absolutely. I think there are a lot of good plugins out there. BackupBuddy is, again, a fantastic plugin and someone we look up to, always copying ideas from there. So yeah, there are many plugins. Obviously, I'm biased, so take it for whatever it is worth. So let me do a quick screen share, since I'll show you quickly what it is, what we are about, and I'll run you through what makes us good. All right, so I'll tell you what, I completely agree with Michael. Backup is only as good as it restores, but first thing is you need to make sure that your sites get backed up. As I showed you earlier with Migrate Guru, we can back up sites which are as large as 300 GB. That is very, very unique to us. Our technology enables you to back up such large sites because we do incremental backups, and we do all of this without overloading your site. All right, so that's one of the big challenges, because if you're running a WooCommerce store or if you're running a WordPress site, the last thing you want is something which is important but still not critical to your visitor to overload that site. So that's something which we put a lot of effort into to ensure that you can back up these really large sites without putting any load on it. Okay, so that's important. And then we obviously let you restore it easily, even if your site is completely down, because we do it from our dashboard, which is independent of your website. All right, and I'll quickly go on to a couple of things which we really, really like, and which we think is very, very important. So as Michael had mentioned, backups are never really when you're restoring a backup, it's never a pleasant experience. You're worked up, you're like, okay, which one, my website should have been fine, something has gone wrong. So how do you know which backup to restore from? Because your backups have been taking place for quite some time. And what we do is, if you see my screen, what we do is we show you the changes that are happening between backups. And in this case, you can see, yeah. So here you can see that on 2nd April, this Akismet plugin was updated, and 13 other plugins were updated. So now you can, this is the point typically where your site would have broken, because you might be realizing that your site has broken, but you don't know when it broke. So we will show you the changes that are happening to your site between backups, and you're able to find the right one. So this reduces the anxiety associated with restoring and trying it out. The other thing we do, and which is again another trick which we really love, is have a test restore. So if you have an important important site, and you don't want to restore your site, and then you don't want to play basically Russian roulette with your site, that, oh, this is good, this is not. So what we do is we let you test restore your backup onto our own servers, so on our staging servers, and you can test it out. So if you want, you can check out this backup or multiple backups, test restore it, and see which is the one which actually is the one that you need. And basically, because we have this test restore functionality, we also have a built-in staging environment. So I think as Michelle had mentioned, staging, we let you create a staging site right from the backup. So yeah, our staging site is right here. So with a click of a button, we let you create a staging site. This, and there are actually many, many more features that we have, which makes BlogVault, I think, a good option if you want a safe way to back up and protect your website. The staging site would be, the test restore would be taking place in the background, and once it's ready, you're going to, it's going to give me a notification, send me an email with all the details of how to access it. We have many other things, but yeah, I think this is a gist of what makes us different.
Cool. And can you tell us a little bit about how you find things with all those tabs on your screen? Because you have so many tabs.
So my goal is that Chrome crashes one day, and then I can start afresh. I'm just waiting for Chrome to crash and lose all of it.
How often have you been? How long have you been saving all of those open tabs?
I think this is a couple of months. So every two months or so, it crashes, and then I start from. It's my tab bankruptcy essentially.
That's awesome. Cool.
These things just keep piling up, and you don't want to lose. You like, while it is there, you don't want to. Like there are all these articles that you definitely want to get back to, and unless you have no option, you can't, like, I can't force myself to close them and forget about them.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, thank you. Thanks. You definitely rose to the challenge, and so did Michael. You both, I grilled you too a little bit more than I told you I would, and you both rose to the challenge and made it happen. I'm curious to hear see what the next tip is that Ali has. In the meantime, I'm going to give everybody one more call out for questions. If you have questions and you're on the live stream, YouTube or Facebook, please leave them. We had a cool question from Denise. Haristo joined us and asked some questions about real life. Swahili is like killing it with all of her participation and questions and stuff like that. And so if anybody else has questions or comments, make sure and leave them, because we're here to answer them. And if you don't leave them, then we won't answer them. Or maybe we will. I don't know. Maybe Ali's going to show us like all of the answers to future questions for WordPress. Who knows? But so please leave your questions and comments. Otherwise, we'll do Ali's demo. We'll do one more from Bob, and then we'll call quits. And we'll just, or maybe Niall. Who knows? But Ali's next.
Cool. Yeah. So this one that I have is like another plugin recommendation. Seems like we've been doing a lot of plugin recommendations. Let me share. So I don't currently have this on my site, but I'm going to set it up right now to show you. But this is something that I've used on client sites before. And basically, it is a plugin that allows you to create a MailChimp sign-up form. So if your client or you are using MailChimp for signups, you integrate this. And the reason I wanted to show this is particularly for this tool, which is it appends to a post or a page. So I've used this a lot if you have lots of different categories and you want to either, oh, bless you. You want to either customize that CTA for that particular type of content. Yeah, basically it allows you to set specific forms. I think it might just be easier to show you, but set specific forms to specific pages or posts. And my favorite way to use this is by category, so that, say, for example, maybe you're working with a blogger who posts recipes. And so every time they post a recipe post, it'll automatically add a specific sign up form. Whereas if they post like a travel post, it'll post a different form to the end of that post. So when it's called, let's look at the full name. It's called MailChimp Forms by OptinCat by Fat Cat Apps. And so once you install it like any other plugin. You immediately start by creating a new form. So we'll just call this, I started making one community form. And you'd want to use the post boxes. It offers you pop-ups and widgets and lots of other things. But you would select the layout. It allows you to customize it. You would pop in your API key, which I accidentally just showed everybody, but that's okay. I can do a new one. And then you'd come right down here and you would select whichever option you want. So I have a couple of different categories for my blog. So I could add it to, community, save it, and it'll only show now on the posts under that category, which is really handy. It saves you a lot of work and a lot of trouble rather than having to like manually go into each post individually and say, okay, which sign up do I need for this particular category, this particular piece of content? It all just does it automatically every time you post something new. So we can kind of see what that looks like by going to one of my community posts. Let's see if it worked. Yeah, looks a little ugly because I haven't like formatted it properly, but it just automatically adds to all of those posts. So yeah, super basic, but if you're like looking for something that does that, this plugin does that really well.
That is awesome sauce. Oh my gosh, I just said it. That is buff-tastic.
It is buff-tastic, I agree.
Nice. Cool. Well, thanks for sharing. Post your questions if you have them. Otherwise, I'm gonna head over to Niall and then Bob and then Peace. We're out. But Niall, go for it.
All right, sorry, forgot to unmute and it let me know. So something that a lot of bloggers, as they go, as they get an older site and everything, I really recommend that if they write content that is not like for just news or anything, if it's something that can say, like, for example, I have posts that I've written 10 years ago, but the information is great today, which is called evergreen content. So it's still good, it's still true and everything else. I don't want to leave it collecting dust on my website. So what I do is I use a plugin like Revive Old Posts to do this. Now, I only use this for the Twitter one because I really like this option. Plus, I use Twitter a lot. And what I do, it's free. It's in the WordPress repository. One moment, I got Windows hiding. So you just install it like any other plugin. And so here is the dashboard for Revival Posts. And then you just kind of go and hook up stuff. So you can, I got it hooked up to Twitter. So you can customize how you want it to look. And if you want to create hashtags from categories, like for example, I use WordPress or blogging, there's actually a hashtag WordPress, hashtag blogging. You could actually limit how long, and also you can schedule it. And there actually will tell you, like, for example, every 4 or 6 hours I have a post out, it'll do a log. I clear the logs every so much time, but it tells you what was previously done. Now, the great thing about this is you can also exclude certain categories and everything. For example, I do have a news category that is never reshared because that's timely news. So I really recommend this so you don't lose all your old content.
That's cool. I also found that it's really fun to go back and look at like the first few posts that you've ever made, because I find that there's like weird stuff there and just like really fascinating. You're like, oh, that's what I thought about back then, or I really sucked at writing then, or maybe I was a better writer than, I don't know. It's always interesting to go back and look at that stuff. So cool. Well, thanks for sharing, Niall. That's a good tip. I think I just choked on legume. All right, Bob, you'll be our last demo.
Okay.
And unless somebody slips in there with a question, Swahili did ask if anybody has any experience with other webinar platforms or streaming platforms. Bob, you could probably answer that if you know of anything that streams to both YouTube and Facebook Live and stuff like that. If anybody else has any recommendations, that'd be interesting to hear about too. So,
You know, I actually don't, so I'll let somebody else answer that right off the top of my head.
Way back in the day, I used GoToWebinar and then would upload them, but anything syncing, no.
Got it. Well, yeah. So, Bob, go ahead and tell us what tip you have to close us out.
Okay, this is actually a premium plugin for WooCommerce, but again, based on what we're going through right now, I thought it was a little bit timely as far as if you're running subscriptions on WooCommerce. This is called Toolkit for subscriptions, and right now everybody's freaking out. Finances, you don't want them to cancel their subscription. I mean, you understand if they do in a situation like this, but if you can give them some options to delay it or reset the actual, put it off for a while. What this does is it gives you I'm not going to do a deep dive on this, but it gives you a ton of options back here as far as what you'll be able to toggle off and on, which I'll show you shortly. So you'll be looking at those, and it explains a little bit more what each of these buttons do. But when they go into their actual account on WooCommerce, if they have multiple subscriptions, they can ship now and reschedule, ship now and still keep it, or save the quantities. So if they were, getting 2-3 things, they could bump it down to 1. What's really cool about it too is on individual orders or subscriptions, and you probably wouldn't put all of these on there as options, but you can have them to change the payment, skip next payment, ship now, keep schedule, ship now, reschedule from today, renew now. So I guess it's just something to show at the last thing. Like I said, you can toggle these all off and on, but it gives somebody an opportunity to say, hey, I have this subscription. I love it. I don't want to lose it. Instead of them contacting you and explaining all their woes and everything, they can go ahead and skip the next payment. And you're kind of opening up a little bit, but I think giving those customers options is pretty sweet. So it's, again, it's fairly easy to set up. And like I said, you can choose to display what you want to display in their account page.
Awesome. Cool tip. And again, super timely. So awesome. Well, thanks again. You've wasted another, what are they saying, Car Talk? You've wasted another hour hour and a half listening to all of us, except everybody else had really valuable information. So I can't say that you wasted your time. It was awesome. Thank you to the guest appearances of Akshat and Michael. Ali, thanks for hanging out with us for the first time. I hope it's been something. I don't know if it's been fun or not. And thanks everybody for asking questions and showing up and listening. This recording will be around for you later. So that's it for today. I'm going to stop the live stream.